I just want to say thank you to Skip and to the Clinton School for having us, and apologize on Bob's behalf. He's sorry he can't be here today. But we just want to start with Andy at the end and have everybody introduce themselves, say who you're playing and where you're from, and how many times you've been at the Rep before.
Hi, my name is Andy Watson. I am playing Ronalisa Peretti, and I'm originally from Arizona, moved to Florida in 2012, and this is my 4th show at the Rep.
Hi, I'm Tessa Fay. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, but currently reside in New York City. It is my 2nd time at the Rep. I was just here doing Elf last season, so I'm happy to be back.
I'll take this one. Hi, I'm Patrick Halley. This is my 2nd show at the Rep also. I did Complete Works Abridged with this wild man about a year and a half ago. And I am a New Yorker, born and raised.
Hi, I'm Ethan Paulini. I am originally from Boston, but I live in New York City. This is my 8th show, well, 8th time at the Rep, 7th show as a performer. So,
I'm Nicole Capri. I think I'm on. I am the director of the show. I'm also a resident director and director of education at the Rep. And as you can see, for this show, I have surrounded myself with people I've worked with several times, and it's been like a big family reunion.
And I had them add that in at the end of introducing themselves, because this is a special show for us. Out of the 9 actors we have, only 2 haven't been to the Rep before. So that's impacted the rehearsal process, and we're just glad to see everybody back at the Rep. Well, I'll start by asking, who is familiar with this show? Who knew about it before it came? Okay, it's a pretty good number. This show started in a nonprofit theater in Massachusetts called the Barrington Theater Company. It went off Broadway to the Second Stage Theater in 2005, and it got such successful reviews, and it opened on Broadway later in 2005. It had a very successful run. It was nominated for 6 Tony Awards and won 2, including Best Book of a Musical. It went on to go through national tours, regional theaters. Most recently, 5 years ago, it was in Little Rock at Robinson. So we're glad to be able to have it at the Rep. Nicole brought it up to Bob last year, so we're really excited to be able to do this production. We're gonna start, we're really excited. We got our trailer this morning, so we're gonna give you a little glimpse of our production. So we've had 2 public previews this week. We have 1 more tonight, and then we open tomorrow night. So we're really excited about where it's coming so far. And let's just start with Nicole. Nicole is not only the director for this production, but you're also the choreographer. Can you kind of talk about that process of where you start? Do you start with the book? Do you start with the dancing? How do you put it all together?
You know, it's funny. Someone asked me if I wanted to write a book last year about what my process is when I choreograph and I direct a show. And I don't know if I have one. And I read the show over and over again. If I'm choreographing a show, it's the only thing I listen to in my car when I'm driving around. I just absorb myself in the material. And sometimes the choreography comes first, sometimes the staging comes first, but you want to get an overall picture of where you're headed. And you want to get an overall picture of what you want to communicate, what you want it to look like. And somehow, magically, it all comes together. And the interesting part of this show, it is deceptively difficult. I mean, it sounds like a really cute, fun musical, but you're not only directing adults to dance like 10-year-olds, but you're also directing an unknown of 4 volunteers from the audience that you have to make sure they're safe. They may be scared to death. They may have 2 left feet. So you're choreographing 4 invisible people, and you need to make sure that they get in the right place at the right time. So you're choreographing your actors to make sure that they get to the right places at the right time. So it was a little more difficult than I expected it to be. So it's super important that you cast the right people that are going to make sure that these volunteers are safe at the same time. But choreographing a musical, I listen to it and I think about it before I ever even stand up and start dancing it or putting a pen to paper. And I could listen to the CD for 100 times before I ever put any pen to paper. But it's one of the most fun processes you can have, is to see a thing from beginning to end and to envision it and to bring it to life.
And what Nicole's talking about is, and it's featured in our trailer, but 4 audience members are brought on stage. If you're worried that you're going to be pulled up on stage and you don't want to be, you have to volunteer. So no worries, you're not just going to be pulled up and have to spell. These guys go out, well, actually, I'll have Tessa, can you explain that process of how people volunteer?
Absolutely. So we start the show at 7 o'clock. Audience members will start arriving around 6:30. And when they do, they will be greeted in the lobby by some of the cast. Some of us are already in costume and ready to go. We're not just in costume, we are in character. So as you arrive to see the show, you'll be greeted by this guy with glasses, and his hair's already set for the show, and he will greet you not as Patrick, but as William. There's a little bit of like hubbub in the audience. Everybody's like making sure that they're on the same page. Like these are adults playing children. These are who we are here to see. We've got clipboards, and we start to talk with the audience in character and explain to them that, you know, one bus of children did not make it tonight for the bee, and we are looking for volunteers to step in and increase the healthy competition that's going to start at 7. So it's a really fun process for us as actors to start engaging with our audience from the moment they enter the rep. So far, we've been testing it out this week in previews and in our final rehearsals, our first rehearsals in the theater. And I gotta be honest, it's one of my favorite parts of the entire experience. I will talk to like a 12-year-old girl who's wide-eyed and can't believe that we are having this conversation, or a 70-year-old man who always thought he might be interested in theater and now he's gonna have his shot, you know? So they fill out a form. The form asks them things like, what is a special skill you have? Or what's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you? They get a little prep on what will be going on once the show begins, and then they filter into the audience. The show begins, and shortly thereafter, 4 volunteers get picked by Miss Rona Lisa Peretti, who is running the bee. I will say, it's a wonderful pre-show routine for us as actors to just get out there, get into character, start having fun. And even in the few days we've done it so far, I'm reminded of how special the Arkansas audience is. Like, people are loving it. I bet you some people enjoy the pre-show as much as the show.
Well, we've been talking about how, you know, if you come for Elf or for Mary Poppins, we decorate the lobby space and you come in and you're experiencing the show right when you walk through the door. That's happening with Spelling Bee. It's happening for adults coming in. It's happening for these kids that are coming in to see this show, we're gonna have a life-size Scrabble that you can play, and you can take selfies with this life-size Scrabble, but then you also start the show right when you walk in the door when these characters come out. So it's a really special experience that people will have the entire time they're there.
So come early.
Yes.
I love watching their reactions. I mean, Ethan's got this cape and he's, running around the lobby and just watching them think, is this for real? And Patrick's freaking out, half the people because his character's a little offbeat and he's like, I think he freaked out one woman a lot last night.
People were practicing. I don't know if y'all saw this, but there was a group that was practicing words at the subscription table in case they got pulled up.
It's a nice reminder that even if you're not a professional actor, you can still get excited about playing, even just for one conversation. I'll go up to somebody and say, "Hi, I'm Logan Schwartzen-Grubenyear. I'm the youngest competitor. I'm 10 years old. How old are you?" Like 75% of the people tell me they're 12. Or that, like, they are not 12. I did not ask them to play with me that way, but they're like, I'm 14. And it's your instinct when somebody comes to you to play and engage in a fun way. I think we all still have that in us, that we'll go on the ride for a little bit and enjoy ourselves.
And we noted this, Andy, I have a question for you. Andy plays Ronalisa Peretti, and she and Vice Principal Panch, they run the spelling bee. So you're kind of part of leading them through, taking care of them on stage. Everyone is, but can you kind of talk about that process?
I'm one of the few grown-ups on stage, yes.
Can you kind of talk about what it takes to take care of them and how it impacts the words that you guys pick? And
Well, it is PG-13. We do have a little bit of fun, but it really is kind of an ensemble show from the very beginning to the very end. Everyone has a say in the volunteers that we do pick to be up on stage with us. The cast has been engaged with them before, so they know this person's going to, really be involved and engaged, and so that's really great. And from that point on, the actor that plays Vice Principal Panch and I have a little bit of leeway while, the kids are introducing themselves and they've got songs and ways that you can get to know them better. We're actually kind of back behind the scenes furiously writing notes. So we are observing what these people are wearing, what they've noted on their forms, what their interesting talents or hobbies or most embarrassing moments are. So they will be exposed in front of an entire audience. And we have great fun, and everyone that has been volunteers for us has been great sports, so it really is, there's a huge sense of camaraderie because they do join the cast, essentially. And we have fun. It's all in good fun and tongue-in-cheek mostly, but it's really great to be able to just play off each other, and a lot of it is very improvisational, very quick, and sometimes very unplanned, but I think that's also what makes it so much fun and so interesting. It's a new show every night.
It is, and in casting this show, I had to cast actors that are very smart, very quick on their feet. Any one of the actors in this show could be stand-up comics. They have to be very, very smart, and because anything could happen. And every night is going to be something different. And Andy and Scott, the guy that plays the vice principal, I think they have two of the hardest roles because I specifically asked them to try to get out certain members in certain places on the set because it affects the choreography. And I'll say, try very hard to get this person out or this person out, because if they can't, if that person's like some sort of like genius speller, then my actors have to rearrange the choreography on the fly. So everything is a domino effect, and everything kind of affects the next thing. It involved a lot more math than I expected, and I'm a theater major, and I wasn't expecting so much math, but Andy and Scott definitely, they're over there and they're just flipping cards and saying, okay, how can we get that person out right there, because Nicole will be really upset if that person's still there in that next number.
And you talked last night about how it impacts the orchestra and the band.
It does, because my orchestra, if somebody misses a word, they have to be ready to go with a certain song. If they don't miss a word, it may be another song that happens. So Mark's like, we're either going with this song or this song, my music director, and the band's up there, we're either on page 13 or 17, get ready to go, and page 13, go. You know, so everything is a domino effect. And it's fun. It's a roller coaster to see if you can pull it off.
Ethan and Patrick were both in Complete Works of William Shakespeare 2 seasons ago, which also has improv in it and also has the audience participation. Can either of you talk about how this is different than that show, or?
Sure. Well, you know, that show, Nicole also directed that production, and musical mics. With that, we were really encouraged to bring ourselves to it, and you know, Complete Works is a property that has existed for a number of years, but our production was really unique in that it had sort of the Arkansas connection, and we engaged with the audience. I mean, I remember I had a line where every night I would go to the box office and find out someone who was in the audience and make a joke about how they thought they were coming to see Wicked. And so that sort of like really personal connection was great, but that was me connecting with the audience. And in this case, it's me playing a 12-year-old connecting with the audience, and also the audience being a little bit more in on the fun, as opposed to Complete Works where we talked to them. This is sort of us all having a dialogue together.
And they sometimes talk back to us also. And
Yeah, well, especially during Complete Works.
Yeah.
So it is, I mean, and also there's a bit more, you know, like I said, I think it really is the difference of creating a character that, while there are certainly many parts of my character's Leaf Coney Bear, there are certainly many parts of him that are similar to me. There are a lot of differences that go beyond just the age, and I think that's sort of the unique challenge as well. With Complete Works, there were no real wrong answers, but in this case, we really do have to follow that structure so that we aren't letting anyone else in that sort of puzzle down.
And I guess one thing I would stress, which may help put some folks at ease too, is a major difference between the audience participation component was that, again, in this show, you are going to sign up and volunteer. And in Complete Works, we just plucked people more often than not against their will, I think. And I mean, dragged them up on stage, which would often create great comedy and sort of watching someone sweat and kind of panic. Yeah, so it's almost more collaborative, because from that pre-show, I think we can really connect with people, and everyone who's up there has a great sense of play and is a part of the fun with us, as opposed to maybe us having some fun at their expense.
And so another part of this, we've covered like the improv side of everything, but they've noted that the 3 of them minus Andy are playing kids. Logan's the youngest at 10. I'm interested in how you go about creating that character and not acting like a kid, but you're portraying the essence of a kid. How do you make it not?
I mean, for me, it was about losing my like editing mechanism. I just, like, kids kind of follow their impulses a little more than adults. How are we supposed to act in these situations? And so, Nicole gave us a ton of freedom in terms of how we could play with this. So I found myself like, okay, so how would, if a kid just reacted at face value, what would that look like? And the first couple days of rehearsal, I was putting things in my mouth and like moving around weird and making weird sounds and weird faces at people. And that's sort of the difference. Sometimes I still, at 34 years old, want to make a weird face at my friends, but don't, because that's not what an adult does. And so, getting to play a 12-year-old, I get to go, I get to kind of go for it, and that's been like incredibly fun.
So my character is pretty strange, as we said, and he's drawn with very broad strokes. So I have thought about playing William as if it's almost as if I'm putting on a mask, and I kind of put on, you know, his mask, and so he has a rare mucous membrane disorder, so he can only breathe out of one nostril. So it very much changes the way I speak. And he kind of has to breathe with an open mouth, so it kind of changes the way I look at people. So it's just once I kind of put that on, that's kind of the outside, and then my mind just starts going into very strange places. And because I'm fortunate enough to work with such a wonderful and creative and collaborative director who has just given us all just a green light. I can trust those crazy creative impulses and go with them. And as far as the process, I mean, what's great about Nicole, and I think with this show in particular, was we kind of, each of us, I mean, threw everything against the wall that we could possibly come, you know, up with and see what stuck. So it was kind of great to have someone as an outside eye who just had such complete trust in us and would just, you know, let us play and say, okay, Patrick, that was good, that was good, that was inappropriate, and that was inappropriate but still really funny, so let's keep 1, 2, and 4.
We never quite know what's going to come out of Patrick's mouth, and sometimes I just do this a little bit. Oh, good God, please don't say that again.
I was fortunate enough to work with when I first moved to New York City as a young actress, I was in all these final callbacks with the people doing Spelling Bee on Broadway at the time. So I was fortunate enough to work with William Finn, who wrote the music, and James Lapine, who was going to direct, and all these really incredible people in the Broadway community on this material. Heartbreak, you know, didn't get it. It happens. Moved on. And then a few years later, I was cast in a regional production of Spelling Bee in Vermont. Got to play this character that I'm playing now, Schwartz and Grubenier. And all of that anticipation of playing the role, you know, drew me to accept the contract, to go to Vermont and play this role. And I think I did an okay job. I was good. I was great. Okay. Coming back and revisiting this role with Nicole in Arkansas, new costume, new design, it doesn't even feel like the same show to me. I've created a new character, and she's got a lot more heart now. She is a comic character. She is an extreme, but I see her a little bit differently now at my age and with a little bit of perspective. So playing a child for me right now is looking at her as a really tiny adult. Like when you're around a child and they say something that seems so evolved, and we all as adults crack up. Like, how did they think of that? Or why are they commenting on politics right now? Like, how does their 12-year-old brain even understand that? There's just no inhibitions. They say what they're thinking, and sometimes they're a little bit more advanced than we give them credit for. So Logan Schwartz and Grubenier this time around is interested in healthy competition and maybe even creating some friendships with people in the room. Even though she's being pressured to win that day, there's other things going on in her little life. So it's fun, and then I just play off of them. Like, if this guy's gonna come at me with a dirty Kleenex, I'm gonna react to the dirty Kleenex. I don't want that dirty Kleenex. So it all happens naturally when we play together, and I think it ends up looking incredibly childlike, even in the sophisticated moments.
And while the show, they play kids as young as 10 years old, we're giving it a rating of PG-13. We've had kids as young as 11-year-olds come see the show, and they've loved it and they've laughed through it, but you know, there is adult humor. So Nicole, what tools do you use to create a show about kids, but that's not particularly for kids?
Well, it's funny because my sister came to see it. She's got an 8-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 16-year-old. I said, come watch one of the rehearsals with me. I said, give me your perspective as a mom. She said, Nicole, I don't see anything any dirtier than I would on a Saturday Night Live. I think 10 years ago, parents might have gasped a little bit I mean, let's face it, there's a song about this poor little 11-year-old that is cursed with a permanent erection. Anytime he gets excited, his whole body gets excited. He can't help it. He is cursed with it. It is affecting everything he does. He can't spell. He can't think. He is just cursed. And the interesting thing is you have to be very careful about who you cast in that role. I mean, if he's a skeevy-looking weirdo kid, you're going to have a very different take on it. But the guy that plays it is such an angel that you just want to go up and hug him and say, it's going to be okay. You will survive puberty. But for some reason, some parents are going to get a little freaked out by the word erection. It's a word. It happens to all boys. You're going to get through it. So the PG-13 is basically for that word. And yes, there's some offbeat, kind of off-color comedy, but it's nothing any worse than what you're seeing on TV today. And I can promise you, your kids have all heard it. They may not tell you that they've heard it, but they've all heard it. So, you know, the reason I put PG-13 on it is because I want parents to make that decision themselves. Are we pushing it to be dirtier than it was written? No. Are some people going to interpret it dirtier than it is? Probably. I can't tell you how people are going to interpret it. But honestly, the message of the show is so good because we've all been there. You know, the challenge of growing up, the sweaty palms, the rapid heartbeat, are we going to be good enough? And everyone's dealt with stage moms and football dads who are pushing their kids to be the best. And the overall message of the show is what we all really want, is to be loved just the way we are, to feel like we're good enough just the way we are. And the message at the end is so tender and so true to life, and something that everyone can identify with, is that if you can hold on till the end, I've seen more tears at the end of this show than I have at the end of Les Mis. You know, people just saying, that was me when I was 10. That's exactly what my daughter's going through right now. I'm a teacher. I see my kids going through that all the time. What people are forgetting is it's a comedy with a message. And words are words. And they even say that in the show. You know, words are words. But the message, the overall message is, we're sitting there basically looking at ourselves in our own childhood and remembering what it was like to be in puberty, and remembering what it was like to have our dad say, you will be a winner, you will be a winner. Or remembering what it was like to have a mom or a dad that wasn't supportive and wasn't sitting in the stands when you were doing something that was important to you. But it's a comedy with a message, and that's what I love so much about this show.
And I think another big message in the show is the self-discovery that I think all of the characters go through, mainly the kids. Can you guys kind of talk about what your character learns about themselves? I mean, not giving too much away, but...
So I will say, when Nicole, before we started rehearsal, I had said in an email exchange with Nicole, had mentioned that this is one of my top 5 favorite musicals of all time, no question. I also got to do a production of it a few years back at another regional theater, and the writing is so, I mean, what Nicole is talking about, the writing is just so delicate and just pitch perfect. That these characters, you will spend the first act just laughing and laughing and thinking that that all of these characters are very broad and maybe even to some degree two-dimensional, but then when you think back at where they are at point A to where they cross the finish line, it is awesome. I mean, my character has no confidence going into the bee, but is so excited to be there because he just wants to be around other kids because he's homeschooled and he has 6 brothers and sisters and they're mean to him and they tell him he's dumb and he doesn't think he can spell any words and he surprises himself by spelling all these words. So the last line I say as him is, I have a song in the first act called I'm Not That Smart. And then the reprise in the second act is, I know I'm smart. And I think that's, you know, he wears a helmet and he has Band-Aids all over him and a cape and he loves Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He's a total weirdo. But by the end, he has that confidence in being a weirdo and he like owns it and accepts it and feels accepted by the other people that he's met at the Bee. And I think that that's, you know, that's just one of these 9 characters' journeys. So think about, I mean, and so many other characters have just as profound journeys. So it's like a really satisfying 2 hours in the theater. You know, much more so than just the face value of, oh, we're going to go laugh at some funny definitions and some silly songs.
Yeah, I sort of alluded to this before that, I mean, my character is ripe for the picking in terms of teasing, I think. I mean, he's got huge glasses and he's allergic to everything, and he's got this funny voice and a lisp, and he can't breathe out of one nostril, and he's got mucus and snot everywhere, and it's he's really into science and science projects, and I don't think he has any friends, and his parents have gone through a divorce and all this, and it's I think that the awkward years that we all have are particularly tough on him, and what happens to him in the show is he is no longer an outcast, and he can become the hero of his own world and his own story, and he finds a thing that he's really good at, and he finds an environment where he's still the weirdest, but he's not that much stranger than his peers, and yeah, he finds friends. He you know, I think he has a crush and has feelings for a girl. So he in terms of his self-confidence and his sense of self-worth, he grows up so much, and it's really beautiful to find that each night. You know, for some kids, I think they won't find that until college, and he's a kid who here in 6th grade for maybe one night, I mean, really feels like he's okay and he's popular and he's good, and it's a cool thing.
Logan has a different journey that day. She comes in really, really super prepared, and she's being raised to be a leader. Her 2 dads want her to be a leader. Throughout the course of the show, I think there's moments where she starts to lead, not by being in front of the group, but by being a part of the group. And that's been the most rewarding for me to play lately. Is my husband asked me the other day, like, what's my favorite part of the show? And I said, it really is, it's being to the side in someone else's lead number. Because at that moment, I get to slip into, how does she play a part in William's life? How will he remember Logan? That she was like in the circle around him. How does she affect Leaf Coney Bear? That maybe he looks up to her at different moments or follows her lead. So Logan has this journey throughout the show where she comes in ready to win. She's maybe a teacher's pet. My first moment on stage, I run up to Miss Peretti. That's who she's there to see, are these teachers that she wants to impress. Her father's in the audience who she wants to impress. But as the show goes on, we find little moments of connection among us, and we relate as students just wanting to have a really good day. I don't want to ruin anything from the plot, but maybe her perspective changes a little bit. Maybe she doesn't, maybe she's got to think on it after the Bee even, like, and realize
what to see it to find out.
Yeah. So you're going to have to come and see exactly what I go through. Does Rona change it all?
I think so. This is Rona's 9th consecutive year as the host of the Putnam County Spelling Bee, and she was the winner of the 3rd annual. So this is a return to her glory days, and I think something that she looks forward to every year. So excited. Probably a little medicated, but she loves the bee, she loves the kids, she's so excited and enthusiastic about everything. But I even think through the course of the show, and I mean, it's really difficult to separate myself from the character that I'm playing at certain points, because I watch these journeys that happen throughout the course of the show, and I am touched. You know, there are moments in the show in which things leak out of my eyes, my feelings happen, and there's just no way to suppress that. So I even have to work that in and make it part of Rona's journey, and I do. I think by the end of the show, even she has changed, and she's gained a little bit more perspective and has been endeared to each one of these characters in some way. So.
Nicole, you kind of had your own director's discovery moment with one of your cast members. One of my favorite parts in the show is there's a song called I Speak 6 Languages, and the character kind of talks about, Marcy Park talks about all these things that she's good at. And Bob was talking last night about how at every theater that moment is different because based on the actual skills of the actress of what she can do. And can you kind of talk about that process with Laura and learning that she kind of was Marcy Park?
I actually met her through Ethan. She's worked with Ethan several times. She's one of the 2 that hasn't been at the rep before, but she's a young Asian girl. She does everything perfectly. She skipped 2 grades. She's about to be the youngest freshman in history, but the song is written, I don't want to give too much of this away, but that she can do everything and she does everything perfectly. And it's written for someone that plays the piano and twirls the baton and all these different things. And so basically the first day I said, tell me what you do. Tell me your skills. Tell me your skill set. We sat down and she said, well, I do this, and I play the cello, and I sing opera, and I do this. So my music director and I basically rewrote the entire song to fit her skill set. And it's been really fun because people look at this song and they said, how did you find a girl that could do all the things in that song? Well, we rewrote it, and but it's been fun because, you know, all of a sudden a cello will pop out and she'll start playing a Bach suite from the cello or singing Queen of the Night or something. And
that she's really doing.
That she's really doing. And her character is very silent, very perfect, and very on guard throughout the show. And she's always perfect, and she just finally breaks. And she's introduced, and they said, and Marcy speaks 5 languages. And she says, no, I don't. They said, what? She said, no, I don't. I speak 6 languages. And I do this, and I do this, and I do this. And then she just breaks out into song and just, you know, breaking boards in 2 and doing all sorts of stuff. And it's her moment where she realizes that she doesn't want to do it anymore. You know, being perfect is boring. And she just wants to be a kid. And so it was really fun kind of changing that up for her and really empowering her skill set and showing her off. And it's fun because throughout the whole first act, you just see her kind of, she comes out, she spells a word, she goes off, she does her thing. She just kind of sits in her own world, and by the second half, she just blows your head off. So you have to wait a little bit longer for the payoff for her, but man, she's, you know, singing gospel by the end of it, and it's crazy. But it's been really fun to watch her change up that song and make it her own.
With all of these special elements of the show that we've talked about, does anybody want to talk about what they think people will leave the theater talking about? I have my guess, which you've heard. I personally would like to put cameras in people's cars when they leave, because I imagine there will be lots of conversations of, I was that kid in middle school, I knew that kid in middle school. I think it would be really interesting to hear people having those conversations with their spouse or with their date or whoever came to see it with them. But what do you think people will leave talking about?
Being director of education at the Rep, I deal with a lot of stage moms, and I deal with a lot of parents that put a ton of pressure on their kids. And, there's 8-year-olds that are already taking pre-ACT prep courses. I don't think I could write in cursive when I was 8 years old. And, it's just maybe a reminder to us that things are moving a little too fast, and maybe kids should be allowed to be kids for a little while longer, and to remember those precious times we have with our kids. I run the summer training program, and we're tough on them, and we push them hard, but we never want to forget that they are kids, and we always want to remember that what we're doing is fun, and to empower them and to love them and to encourage them along the way, and that if you mess up, who cares? This is fun. What we're doing is fun. And I hope every parent that comes away remembers that you only get to be a kid for a few years, and just to cherish those moments. And I don't know, that would be the thing that I would hope the most.
And just on a very sort of, I guess, basic level, and I've heard this after our previews so far, is people are saying, my cheeks are aching right now because I was just laughing the entire time. And it's been such a rare treat for us because I think I can speak for us all we're having about as much fun on stage each night, I think, as you possibly can. And to know that that's a gift that we can share, and that it's proving to be as infectious as we hoped, has been just great.
And you crack them up too. Some of the things you guys do crack them up. There are Carol Burnett moments where I see them up on stage trying to those moments where, Carol Burnett and Tim Conway would be trying not to break. It's fun. When you guys can make them break, that's when I get tickled.
I think I would hope that some theater goers would leave the theater saying, what a great part of the Rep season. What a special show to follow Macbeth and precede Little Mermaid. Is that the next show up? This is when this show was in New York, they called it the little show that could. It went from zero to hero. It is a delightful piece of art that you will. I would love somebody to say, I had no idea a Broadway musical could be so topical, current, smart alecky, fun. I would think this would be the show that could make a non-musical theater performer love musical theater. So I think it's an excellent addition to this lineup. Patrick, I hope you don't mind me saying, Patrick is not, he's an actor. He does a lot of shows without music. So for Patrick to come and star in a musical at Arkansas Rep is really special. His acting.
When I called him, I said, I want you to do this. He was like, what? I was like, you can totally do this. And I think he now believes us.
Almost.
Oh, no. He will. I'm giving you another week to believe us.
And that's a testament to Mark Binns, who is our music director, and to you that have sort of, the Rep is such an incredible place that I felt enough support and encouragement and comfort to come here and take a huge creative leap. And I don't know if there's a lot of regional theaters where actors would feel as supported and as nourished as I have here. So, thank you.
You're welcome, Patrick.
That's a great moment to end on.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you later.
No. Do we have any questions? Anybody have any questions about Putnam for these guys?
It sounds like each show is different, so how many times should I come?
All of them.
Every single night. And the matinees.
No, seriously. How many?
2 or 3?
Yeah, we really refresh.
Yeah.
We refresh that script pretty often.
Once with your family, once with your coworkers. It's going to be a different, yeah.
I
boys'
think you
night
would get a
out.
real. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Nicole.
She said boys' night out.
Boys' night out. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there are some built-in spots in the script where we refresh. Like we will be looking at the news in the morning and it will be in the show in the evening. So if you come and have a good time the first time, I would recommend bringing some friends, coming back and being a little bit shocked when something that made you laugh the first time maybe isn't in the show the second time, but something that makes you laugh even harder has been added to the script.
I watched tech rehearsal this past Sunday with my sister, and she knew that I'd said in a rehearsal before, and she kept leaning over and going, "Why are you laughing so hard? Haven't you heard these jokes before?" And I was like, "No, they changed it. Like, there are moments that I hadn't seen, so I've enjoyed it every time I've seen it equally. Every single time has been just as enjoyable." Carney?
I have a 14 to 12-year-old, and I guess from what you've said earlier that's fine for them, right?
I think as long as you say, there's,
Well, they're great-grandchildren.
I knew Carney was amazing, but I didn't know he was quite that amazing.
Good for you.
Way to go, champ.
I'm taking my 13-year-old nephew with me next week, and I said, there's this one song in there, and he was like, "Oh, Aunt Nicole, good grief. I'm fine." He was like so embarrassed that I even told him about it. But I think as long as just say there's this and this, and psh, he said, "Good grief, we watched Saturday Night Live." And I was like, okay. So
I feel like a lot of the jokes are like nowadays. I don't have kids of my own, but I have nieces and nephews, and you go see like a kids movie and there are those little jokes that are there for the parents that go right over the kid's head. With the exception of the one song that Nicole's already mentioned, that's what the jokes are like. The adults will go, "Oh, that is funny and a little blue and a little risque," and the kids will be like, "I don't get why everyone's laughing, but okay, I'll laugh too." So if that gives you a sense of what it is.
Any other questions? Oh, Fran.
That's a question.
You guys talked a little bit about getting into character, but it's been fun to watch you, whether you're going on a photo shoot or getting ready to talk to the audience in the lobby before the show, because you've gotten into costume and you've gotten into hair, and so you're already, not just mentally, but physically, you look like your character. With this show, is that more important than with other productions you've been in? Is there a difference? How important is costume?
So important. Yeah. So important. Even from my first fitting, we were talking about the sizing of the costume. So my character is dressed head to toe like a character from Harry Potter, like Gryffindor. And the costume department was teaching me about all these Harry Potter isms that I had to brush up on. But we picked a sweater that has sleeves that extend a little past my wrist. In another show, that would be all tailored and done to fit to perfection. But we kept it fitting the way children's clothes fit. We were choosing pants, and we said, let's leave them a little baggy around the knees, like weird areas that kids just don't fill out their clothes yet. Another thing that was important for me in this show, and tends to be important for me when I do productions and was for Elf, is my hairstyle. In this show, I have these 2 pigtails on the side of my head, and they whip around. Like, I think I could probably reach Patrick with a pigtail, and nail him. But deciding whether we wanted those high or low or braided, it really changed the way the character moves. a kid who loves their costume, loves what they're wearing, acts differently than a kid whose mom dressed them and they're miserable for the day. So like Leaf Coney Bear, says he makes his own clothes and he has this cape and you can tell he just loves that cape. That is his, piece of pride at the spelling bee, and that's a great question. For me, it changes a lot. Nicole is so great as a director. She's very collaborative with her actors. And if they say they're not comfortable in something, right, this isn't how I envisioned the character, she says, let's get it working then so it is how you envision the character. And we work with costumes and marry those ideas. The first day of rehearsal when we came in, they were hand-drawn, they're called renderings, costume renderings, but hand-drawn visions from the costume department of each character in the show. So not only do you see how they're envisioning your character and you can start to build your acting around that visual, you can see how the other actors that you're going to be acting with are dressed. And you say, I'm going to play off, like Patrick's look is a little sloppy in the show. The things are untucked and you're not sloppy. But things are untucked and his little number gets cockeyed and all that. So if my character is based in perfection and these perfect pigtails and I'm sitting next to this slop.
Yeah. So William is clearly wearing an outfit that his mom put him in, and in particular, his mom has attempted to comb his hair in a particular way. And so you put that on, and I set my hair like that, and I'm wearing glasses that she's picked out and an outfit that she's picked out, and he's literally uncomfortable in his own skin. He's wearing this external layer from head to toe that he hates, and that it was probably a fight, to get him into. And so that drastically changes his outlook on the rest of the world. And if he is uncomfortable in how he, looks, anyone who walks up to him and says hi, I think he immediately goes to a place of, why are you talking to me? You must be making fun of me. So yeah, it's been, and the staff here is great, and I mean the costumes are incredible. But I think in this show more than most, it was so helpful.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Well, hope you guys will join us. Tonight is our final preview. We have a director's talk at 6:15 where Bob will be leading, Nicole, our lighting designer, and our music director in a discussion. And then tomorrow night is opening night. So thank you so much.